Have you ever wondered why life can feel heavier as we age, even though we should be feeling freer? By the time you hit 61, you've lived enough to realize what matters. Yet so many of us continue to carry unnecessary burdens. Whether it's the opinions of others, material possessions, or toxic relationships. But what if I told you there's a way to leave it all behind and start living more lightly, more authentically? In this video, we'll explore 9 powerful truths that can help you let go of what's holding you back, so you can focus on what truly brings peace and joy to your life. As we dive into each point, you will discover how to break free from the expectations of others, stop comparing yourself to others' journeys, and finally prioritize your happiness without guilt. This isn't just another feel-good video. By the end, you'll have practical, life-changing insights that will allow you to simplify your life and reclaim the joy you deserve. Stay with me until the end, and I promise you'll walk away with a renewed sense of freedom, clarity, and a deeper understanding of how to truly thrive in your golden years. If you are not subscribed, I recommend subscribing and activating the notification bell so you don't miss any videos. Your support means a lot to me. And if you enjoyed this video, you can help me continue spreading the valuable lessons by liking and sharing it. 1. Excessive preoccupation with other people's opinions. As we move through the different stages of life, there inevitably comes a point when the burden of constantly worrying about what others think becomes a weight too heavy to carry. For so many years, we have allowed ourselves to be defined by the expectations and judgments of those around us. We chase after approval like it's the golden key to happiness, always trying to fit into someone else's vision of who we should be. It's exhausting, and yet, in our younger years, it often feels necessary. We crave acceptance. We long to belong, and we tell ourselves that if we can just please everyone, everything will fall into place. But after the age of 61, a profound transformation begins to take shape. The relentless need for validation begins to fade, and a new sense of clarity emerges. We start to understand that living to satisfy others is a losing game. We've spent decades being pulled in different directions by the opinions of others, trying to fit into roles that don't align with who we truly are. The longer we play this game, the further we drift from our own identity and our happiness. And for what? To meet the approval of people who are too busy fighting their own battles with their insecurities to ever truly see us? The wisdom that comes with age teaches us that everyone views life through their lens, shaped by their experiences, biases, and fears. What others think of us has very little to do with who we are and everything to do with our internal struggles. No matter how much we twist and contort ourselves to meet their expectations, it will never be enough. There will always be someone ready to criticize, to judge, to point out our flaws. But as we grow older, we begin to realize that this constant striving to please everyone is not only futile, it's destructive. It distances us from our authentic selves, from the things that truly matter, and from the joy we so deeply deserve. By the time we reach this stage of life, we've come to understand the power of letting go. We no longer have the energy or the desire to mold ourselves to fit into someone else's idea of who we should be. We've lived long enough to know that authenticity, being true to who we are, is the key to peace. This realization brings a deep, soul-satisfying freedom. It is in this freedom that we find our true strength, our true voice. No longer shackled by the opinions of others, we begin to live not for them, but for ourselves. True freedom is not something external that can be granted or taken away. It comes from within. It is the moment we decide to stop caring about the judgments and opinions of others. It is the moment we permit ourselves to live in alignment with our values, beliefs, and desires. For so long, we may have been terrified of what others would think if we dared to step outside the lines they had drawn for us. But now, in the fullness of our lives, we recognize that their opinions hold no real power. The only person who truly knows what is best for us is the one who lives within us. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment 1 below to let me know that you are still here with me. And with this newfound freedom comes a lightness we haven't felt in years. The weight of other people's expectations, once so heavy on our shoulders, falls away. We stop being afraid of judgment, of criticism, of being misunderstood. Those things no longer have the power to define or confine us. We let go of the need to explain ourselves, to seek approval, to justify our choices to others. We learn that the only approval we need is our own. This kind of inner liberation brings with it a sense of peace so profound that it almost feels like a second chance at life. Living authentically is not without its challenges. There will always be those who disagree with our choices, who criticize or try to tear us down. But we now have the wisdom to understand that their opinions are a reflection of their struggles, not ours. We don't take it personally because we've come to a place of deep self-acceptance. We know that their judgments cannot touch the core of who we are. They cannot diminish our worth or our happiness unless we allow them to. This is where the real power lies, in knowing that we are in control of our happiness. We no longer wait for external validation to feel good about ourselves. We no longer look outside ourselves for approval or recognition. Instead, we look inward. We trust our instincts, our wisdom, and our sense of what is right for us. And in doing so, we reclaim our power, our joy, and our peace. At this stage of life, we realize that the only person we owe anything to is ourselves. The opinions of others may continue to swirl around us, but they are just noise, background chatter that we no longer feel compelled to listen to. We are finally free to live our lives on our terms, without fear or guilt. And in this freedom, we discover the most precious gift we could ever give ourselves. The gift of being unapologetically, beautifully, and fully ourselves. This sense of liberation is not just a fleeting feeling. It is a deep, lasting transformation. It is a realization that we are enough, just as we are. We don't need to prove anything to anyone. We don't need to meet anyone else's expectations or live according to someone else's rules. We are free to live according to our truth. And in doing so, we find a peace that no one else can give us and no one else can take away. As we embrace this freedom, life becomes lighter, brighter, and infinitely more joyful. We let go of the past. We release the fears that once held us back, and we step boldly into the future with a heart full of hope and an unbreakable spirit. We are no longer defined by the opinions of others, but by the strength, wisdom, and love that reside within us. And that, more than anything, is the true measure of a life well lived. 2. Accumulation of objects and material goods. As the years roll by, we begin to grasp a profound truth. The accumulation of material possessions does not equate to true happiness. How often have we clung to items that no longer serve a purpose in our lives, yet continue to occupy space in our homes and our minds? Each object seems to hold a fragment of our past, anchoring us to memories, some joyful, some painful, but all of them add to the clutter that surrounds us. It can feel daunting to part with these things because they have, in some ways, become part of who we are. But the real truth, one we come to understand more deeply as we grow older, is that when we release what no longer serves us, we create space. Space for the new, space for the meaningful, space for what truly matters. The accumulation of material goods is often a symptom of our earlier fears, insecurities, and the desire to hold on to something tangible in an ever-changing world. We surround ourselves with things because at one time, we believed that having more meant being more secure, more successful, more fulfilled. But as we age, the illusion starts to fade. We come to see that these things, once prized, are now just burdens. They do not bring the sense of security or joy we thought they would. Instead, they weigh us down both physically and emotionally. Letting go of the unnecessary is a powerful act of courage, a declaration of self-love. It is about standing in the present moment, looking at everything we have accumulated over the years, and asking ourselves some hard, yet liberating questions. Does this still bring me joy? Does it serve a purpose in my life today? If the answer is no, then perhaps it's time to say goodbye. In doing so, we unburden ourselves. We open up not only the spaces in our homes, but also the spaces within ourselves. spaces that have been crowded by the unnecessary weight of things. With each item we release, we feel lighter and freer. Our homes no longer feel overrun by things that need constant care, attention, or organization. Our minds feel clearer, no longer bogged down by the endless to-do lists of maintaining so many possessions. We realize that the less we have to worry about, the more we can focus on what truly matters: the experiences, the memories, the connections with those we love. This shift in focus, from material things to meaningful moments, is deeply transformative. When we stop being preoccupied with accumulating more, we start appreciating what is already here. We discover that life is not about how much we can own, but about how deeply we can live. The moments shared with loved ones, the conversations that linger in our hearts, the simple pleasures of a walk in the park or a quiet cup of tea. These are the things that bring true contentment. By letting go of the excess, we learn to appreciate the essentials. We come to understand that life's richness isn't measured by what we have amassed, but by how fully we can savor each moment. The act of decluttering, of releasing what no longer serves us, is not just a practical task. It's an emotional and spiritual one. It teaches us to live more mindfully and to focus on the present rather than being weighed down by the past. The act of letting go is an exercise in freedom. It is an invitation to walk through life with a sense of lightness, unburdened by the trappings of materialism. It is about embracing simplicity, which in turn brings a profound sense of tranquility. We begin to see that happiness and peace don't come from having more, but from needing less. We stop chasing after things, and instead, we find joy in the here and now. As we shed the layers of material accumulation, we uncover a deeper truth. What truly matters can't be bought or stored on a shelf. It's the love we give and receive, the time spent with those who matter, and the sense of fulfillment that comes from living in alignment with our values. When we let go of the excess, we make room for more of what brings true meaning into our lives. We create a life that is not cluttered with things, but filled with purpose and joy. This process of releasing, of decluttering both our homes and our minds, brings with it an overwhelming sense of peace. The things we thought we needed to turn out to be distractions from what truly makes us happy. The less we have, the more we realize we don't need. And with that realization comes a profound shift. We no longer seek fulfillment from the outside world, from things we can buy or accumulate. Instead, we find it within ourselves, in our relationships, and the simple, yet deeply meaningful moments of daily life. In the end, life is not measured by what we collect, but by the depth of our experiences and the fullness of our hearts. Letting go of material possessions is an act of self-liberation. It is about freeing ourselves from the weight of things that no longer have a place in our lives. It's about moving forward with a sense of clarity and lightness, unburdened by the past, and open to the beauty of the present. This is not just about cleaning out closets or tidying up. It's about reclaiming our lives from the grip of materialism and finding joy in simplicity. When we strip away the excess, we are left with what truly matters: peace, love, connection, and the freedom to live our lives with a sense of purpose and fulfillment. And that, more than any object we could ever own, is what brings true happiness. 3. Unnecessary social obligations. For the better part of our lives, we often find ourselves bound by the invisible strings of social expectations, feeling obligated to accept invitations, attend gatherings, and partake in events that don't genuinely spark joy within us. We show up not out of desire, but out of a sense of duty, politeness, or sheer habit. How many times have we dragged ourselves to a social event, our hearts heavy with reluctance, simply because we didn't want to be seen as rude for refusing? How often have we found ourselves in rooms full of people, nodding along, smiling politely, while deep inside we yearn to be anywhere else? We attend these events because we think we must. After all, society tells us it's the right thing to do. But as the years go by, and especially after the age of 61, something fundamental shifts in our perspective. We begin to recognize that life is too short and too precious to be spent on things that drain our energy and bring no real joy. This realization marks a turning point. It's time to reevaluate our relationship with social obligations. No longer do we need to force ourselves into situations that leave us feeling empty, drained, or out of place. At this stage in life, we've earned the right to choose where and with whom we spend our time. We no longer need to show up out of mere obligation or to please others. The freedom to say no becomes one of our greatest gifts, a gift we can give to ourselves without guilt or hesitation. Permitting ourselves to decline invitations and to walk away from commitments that no longer serve us is an act of self-respect and self-care. It's about reclaiming our time and energy and investing it in what truly brings us fulfillment. We don't need to be everywhere. We don't need to attend every event, respond to every invite, or justify our absences. We don't owe anyone an explanation for choosing to prioritize our well-being. The older we get, the clearer it becomes that our time is one of our most valuable resources, and we must guard it wisely. We no longer need to sacrifice our peace or happiness to meet other people's expectations. By saying no to what drains us, we are saying yes to ourselves, to our peace, our joy, and our well-being. This isn't about isolating ourselves or withdrawing from the world. It's about choosing wisely. It's about understanding that we have the right to be selective about where we invest our energy. We have the right to prioritize our happiness and to surround ourselves with people and experiences that uplift us rather than deplete us. It's a profound shift, one that allows us to embrace a deeper sense of freedom and fulfillment. This freedom of choice is a privilege, an achievement that we should celebrate. It's the culmination of decades of living, of understanding what truly matters and what doesn't. The ability to decline what doesn't serve us is a form of empowerment. It's the acknowledgement that we no longer need to live for the approval of others. We no longer need to be present in places where our heart isn't. We no longer need to pretend to enjoy things that don't align with who we are. Instead, we can focus on moments and people that bring real joy into our lives. The power of saying no doesn't just free up our time. It allows us to fully immerse ourselves in the moments we choose to participate in. When we are no longer weighed down by the burden of obligation, we can show up with our whole selves, fully present and fully engaged. Every gathering, every conversation, and every moment we spend with others becomes more meaningful because we are there by choice, not by duty. And this makes all the difference. It transforms our social experiences from something we have to do into something we genuinely want to do. By choosing where to invest our time and energy, we enrich the quality of our lives. The interactions we have become deeper and more genuine. The moments we spend with loved ones become more cherished. Every event we attend becomes a space of joy and connection because we are fully there, not just physically, but emotionally and spiritually as well. We can finally leave behind the weight of pretending, of conforming to societal norms that no longer fit who we are. At this stage in life, we begin to understand that the people who truly value us will respect our choices. They won't be offended by our absence. Instead, they'll cherish the moments when we are present, knowing that our presence is a gift, not an obligation. We also learn that it's okay to let go of relationships that drain us, to release the ties that no longer bring positivity into our lives. It's a process of pruning our social circles, keeping only what is nourishing, what brings joy, and what adds value to our lives. The most beautiful part of this process is the realization that saying no is not about shutting doors. It's about opening new ones. It's about making space for experiences that truly matter, for moments of joy, for meaningful connections that enrich our lives. It's about freeing ourselves from the chains of social obligation and stepping into a life that is more aligned with who we are at our core. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment 2 below to let me know that you are still here with me. This is one of the greatest gifts we can give ourselves in our later years, the freedom to choose how and with whom we spend our time. We no longer need to feel guilty for putting ourselves first. We no longer need to apologize for choosing peace over pressure, joy over duty, and authenticity over pretense. This freedom, this ability to live life on our terms, is the ultimate expression of self-love, and it makes all the difference to the quality of our lives. As we embrace this newfound freedom, We begin to live with a sense of lightness and joy that may have been missing for years. We become more selective and more intentional about how we spend our time. And in doing so, we create a life that is rich with meaning, connection, and purpose. And in the end, that's what truly matters. Not how many social events we attended, but how fully we lived, how deeply we connected, and how joyfully we embraced each moment we were given. For exaggerated preoccupation with physical appearance. Throughout much of our lives, we find ourselves under relentless pressure to conform to societal standards of beauty and youth. From magazines to advertisements to social media, we are constantly bombarded with the idea that we need to look perfect, free from wrinkles, blemishes, or any sign of aging. It's as if the natural process of growing older is something to be battled, something to resist with every cream, treatment, or procedure. This obsession with physical appearance often breeds insecurity, making us feel as though our worth is tied to how closely we can resemble a youthful ideal. But as the years pass, and particularly after the age of 61, a profound realization begins to emerge. True beauty has very little to do with perfection, and everything to do with the life we've lived, the stories we carry, and the experiences that have shaped us. Each wrinkle, every crease, every mark on our skin tells a story of laughter, of love, of tears, of resilience. These marks are not imperfections to be hidden or erased. They are badges of honor, a testament to the years we've lived and the wisdom we've gained. At this stage in life, it would be unfair, perhaps even unkind, to ourselves to try and erase the evidence of our journey. We have endured so much and experienced that our faces and bodies carry the history of who we are. Instead of fighting to hide these changes, we can embrace them as part of the beautiful tapestry of our lives. Of course, it's still important to take care of our health, to stay active, and to feel good about ourselves. But there is a world of difference between caring for ourselves in a way that honors our bodies and obsessing over unrealistic standards that no longer make sense to us. The truth is, after a certain age, the external beauty that society glorifies fades into the background, and what remains, the only beauty that truly matters, is the beauty of authenticity, self-acceptance, and inner peace. There is something profoundly beautiful about feeling comfortable in our skin, about accepting the body we have with all its changes and transformations. These changes are not signs of decline, but of life itself. They tell the story of a life lived fully, of battles fought and won, of joy, sorrow, and everything in between. Each wrinkle tells the tale of a smile shared, a frown of concern, a moment of deep contemplation. Every line etched into our skin reflects the passage of time, yes, but also the richness of experience. To try and erase these signs would be to erase part of ourselves. True beauty lies not in chasing the unattainable, but in the courage to stand in our truth, exactly as we are. It's found in the lightness of no longer needing to prove anything to anyone. At this stage of life, we no longer need to waste precious energy trying to fit into beauty standards that don't represent us, standards that were never designed to celebrate the richness and complexity of aging. Instead, we can focus on caring for ourselves with love and respect, nurturing our bodies, yes, but also nurturing our minds, our spirits, and our sense of self-worth. Acceptance is one of the most powerful gifts we can give ourselves. When we stop fighting against the natural process of aging and instead embrace it with open arms, we allow ourselves to experience a profound sense of liberation. We free ourselves from the exhausting cycle of comparison and competition. We stop worrying about what others think, about whether we measure up to some arbitrary standard of beauty, and we start living for ourselves. And in that freedom, we find a peace that radiates outward, a peace that others can sense, and that makes us truly beautiful. The beauty of aging is in the wisdom it brings, in the lightness of no longer needing to conform. It is in the deep satisfaction of knowing that we are enough, just as we are. We've lived, we've learned, we've grown, and we've earned the right to be at peace with ourselves. Our beauty is not something that fades with time. Rather, it deepens. It becomes richer and more nuanced. It's no longer about the smoothness of our skin or the color of our hair. It's about the way we carry ourselves, the kindness we extend to others, the love we hold for ourselves, and the wisdom we offer to the world. This kind of beauty cannot be captured by a photograph or defined by superficial standards. It is a beauty that comes from within, one that radiates from a place of self-acceptance and inner contentment. It's the beauty of having lived a life of purpose, of having experienced joy and pain, and everything in between. It's the beauty of resilience, of strength, of having weathered the storms of life and come out the other side with grace. When we stop worrying about external appearances and instead focus on nurturing our inner selves, we experience a kind of joy and peace that far surpasses the fleeting satisfaction of meeting society's impossible beauty standards. We come to understand that what truly makes us beautiful is not the absence of wrinkles or the smoothness of our skin, but the light in our eyes, the love in our hearts, and the wisdom we've gained over the years. This is the beauty that matters, the beauty of being unapologetically ourselves, of embracing every aspect of who we are, without shame, without fear, without guilt. It's the beauty of living authentically, of accepting ourselves fully, and of loving ourselves through all the changes that life brings. And in that acceptance, we find not only peace, but also deep, unshakable happiness. Because true beauty is not about how we look on the outside. It's about how we feel on the inside. It's about living with purpose, loving ourselves completely, and embracing the fullness of who we are. And that, more than anything, is the kind of beauty that lasts. It's the kind of beauty that grows stronger with time, the kind of beauty that can never fade. It's the beauty of living life with grace, wisdom, and authenticity. It's the beauty of embracing ourselves, exactly as we are, and knowing deep down that we are more than enough. 5. Activities that don't bring satisfaction. How many times have we found ourselves doing things simply out of habit, trudging through tasks that once held meaning but now feel like empty motions? We often get caught in the rhythm of life, repeating actions because they're familiar, because we think they need to be done, even when they no longer bring us joy. It's as if we're stuck on autopilot, going through the motions of a routine that no longer serves us. For years, we can remain stuck in this cycle, doing things because that's how it's always been, even though deep down, we know they add nothing of real value or meaning to our lives. But after the age of 61, something changes. This stage of life gives us a precious opportunity to step back and reflect on these activities. It's a time to ask ourselves honestly, does this still bring me joy? Does it fulfill me? Does it still make me feel alive? If the answer is no, then it might be time to reconsider these choices, shed the habits and routines that no longer serve us, and make space for the things that truly ignite a spark within us. Life, especially now, is far too short to spend on things that don't bring a smile to our faces or warmth to our hearts. There's no longer a need to insist on doing things just because we've always done them, especially if they only drain us, bore us, or make us feel disconnected from the present moment. Now is the time to let go of the activities that leave us feeling empty. It's the time to embrace a new mindset, one where we rediscover the pleasures in the little things, where we permit ourselves to seek out new passions, explore forgotten hobbies, or dive into interests we may have set aside over the years. There's a beautiful freedom in realizing that we no longer have to cling to the idea that this is just the way things are. It's time to choose what makes us truly happy, whether it's giving up old habits that no longer make sense, or simply deciding not to go to places or engage in activities that don't resonate with us anymore. This is the moment to prioritize joy. Life should no longer be about going through the motions, but about living with purpose and intention. The world is wide, and there are so many things still left to discover, no matter what stage of life we are in. Now is the perfect time to learn something new, to cultivate a new skill, or to reawaken an old talent that has been quietly waiting for our return. It might mean spending more time with people who truly matter, nurturing relationships that uplift us, or simply taking a walk in nature and appreciating the quiet moments of life. What's important is that we find fulfillment, even in the smallest of moments, and that we live each day to seek out what truly makes us feel alive. True satisfaction isn't found in grand gestures or monumental achievements. It's found in the way we live each moment, in the things we do that bring meaning and joy to our hearts. This stage of life is about cherishing the freedom to live authentically and to choose activities that nourish the soul rather than deplete it. We don't need to stay stuck in routines that exhaust us or in patterns that no longer bring joy. There's no more room for obligation without purpose. We no longer need to drag ourselves through days filled with things that don't light us up. Instead, we can focus on finding what makes our hearts sing, what makes us get out of bed in the morning with excitement, with purpose, and with the will to make the most out of each day. Perhaps it's as simple as spending more time with loved ones, engaging in deep conversations, or finding joy in the quiet moments of solitude. Or perhaps it's finally pursuing that hobby we've always been curious about, but never had the time or confidence to explore. Maybe it's returning to an old love, painting, writing, gardening, or learning a new instrument that was set aside in the busy rush of earlier years. Whatever it is, the key is that we're doing it with intention, with passion, and with joy. We no longer need to prove anything to anyone, least of all ourselves. We don't need to fill our schedules with things that don't make us happy just for the sake of being busy. This is the time to simplify, to focus on what truly matters, and to let go of the rest. We have earned the right to prioritize our happiness and our fulfillment. And in doing so, we will find that each day becomes richer, more meaningful, and filled with the kind of joy that only comes from living authentically. There is a profound sense of peace that comes when we finally let go of activities that no longer satisfy us. When we stop forcing ourselves to do things out of obligation, we free up space for new possibilities. We open the door to a life that is filled with more meaning, more connection, more joy. And in that space, we rediscover what it truly means to live. We stop existing and start thriving, finding purpose not in how much we accomplish, but in how deeply we experience each moment. So, now is the time to embrace this freedom. It's time to focus on the things that truly matter to us, the things that bring us joy, and let go of the rest. We have nothing to lose and everything to gain. Let us fill our days with purpose, with meaning, and with activities that bring us alive, that remind us of the beauty of simply being. Because when we do that, when we prioritize our happiness, we begin to live not just more fully, but more freely. And that, more than anything, is the secret to a life well lived. 6. Negative, toxic relationships. Sometimes, we get so accustomed to certain relationships that we don't even realize the toll they take on our well-being. We invest years, sometimes decades, maintaining connections with people who don't uplift or inspire us, but instead drain our energy and peace of mind. These could be friends who are constantly negative, family members who never cease to criticize, or anyone who makes us feel small, undervalued, or unappreciated. We often keep these ties out of habit, loyalty, or the fear of disappointing others. But the truth is, no matter how long these relationships have lasted, we are under no obligation to maintain them. They are a burden we no longer need to bear. After the age of 61, it's time to carefully and thoughtfully choose the people we want to surround ourselves with. Walking away from toxic relationships is not an act of selfishness. It is a profound expression of self-care. We've reached a stage in life where peace, joy, and emotional balance matter more than ever. And these are things we can only preserve by distancing ourselves from those who bring us harm, whether intentionally or unintentionally. What matters most now is being surrounded by individuals who support us, who love us for who we are, and who value our presence in their lives. There is no longer room for those who only bring negativity, who criticize without care, or who fail to see our worth. We don't have to feel obligated to please everyone, to keep toxic relationships alive just for the sake of tradition or out of fear of conflict. At this point in life, our primary responsibility is to maintain our sense of peace, balance, and emotional well-being. It's a radical yet necessary act of self-preservation. Letting go of toxic relationships can feel difficult, especially when we've been entangled in them for years, but it is one of the most liberating decisions we can make. When we finally release those ties, we make room in our lives for new connections, People who genuinely care for us, who share our values, who bring light into our lives rather than darkness. These are the individuals who will walk beside us with love, respect, and understanding, allowing us to be our true selves without judgment or criticism. In releasing what no longer serves us, we open the door to more positive, fulfilling relationships. We stop wasting our precious energy on those who drain us, and we begin to invest in those who nurture us. This shift in focus transforms our lives, allowing us to live more freely and fully. Life is far too short to be spent with people who bring us down, who fail to see our worth, or who make us feel like we're not enough. Surrounding ourselves with people who bring joy, love, and kindness into our lives is not just important, it's essential. These relationships are what gives life its richness and meaning. They are the ones that make us feel alive, supported, and deeply valued. And those are the people who deserve our time, attention, and affection. The rest. The relationships that bring nothing but frustration, sadness, or exhaustion can be left behind. And when we do this, we do it without guilt, without regret, and with the certainty that we are taking care of ourselves in the most profound way. There is no shame in choosing ourselves, in putting our emotional and mental health first. It is one of the greatest acts of love we can show ourselves. Toxic relationships, regardless of how long they have been in our lives, do not define us. They are not a reflection of our worth or our value. In walking away, we are not abandoning others. We are simply choosing to honor ourselves. We are choosing to protect our peace and create space for more positive, enriching experiences. In this chapter of life, we deserve relationships that are nourishing, that bring warmth to our hearts, and that make us feel valued. The people who truly matter will respect our boundaries, cherish our presence, and celebrate us for exactly who we are. They will add to our lives, not subtract from them. And in letting go of what no longer serves us, we embrace a life that is lighter, freer, and filled with the kind of companionship that brings real joy. There is no need to hold on to relationships that suffocate our spirit. The courage to walk away from negativity and choose love, light, and respect is a powerful act of self-care, and it sets the tone for a more peaceful, fulfilling life moving forward. At this stage, we can confidently leave behind the toxicity, the drama, and the hurt, knowing that by doing so, we are paving the way for something better, something that truly aligns with who we are and who we want to be, and that ultimately is the greatest gift we can give ourselves. We owe it to ourselves to spend our time and energy on those who lift us, who appreciate us, and who bring out the best in us. Life is too precious to be spent any other way. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment 3 below to let me know that you are still here with me. 7. Comparisons with other people's lives. One of the most pervasive and exhausting pitfalls throughout life is the temptation to compare our journey with that of others. From a young age, we are conditioned by societal expectations and standards of success that often make us question our own choices, achievements, and even our worth. We look around, and it seems like someone else always has more accomplishments, more wealth, a more exciting life, a bigger house, or a seemingly perfect family. And in doing so, we unwittingly diminish the beauty of our own story, focusing on what we lack rather than what we have. But as the years go by, especially after the age of 61, we begin to understand a liberating truth. These comparisons are nothing more than a waste of precious energy. Everyone walks a different path in life, and each of those paths is shaped by individual experiences, struggles, choices, and moments of joy. No two journeys are alike, and there is no single definition of success or happiness that applies universally. What works for one person, what brings them joy and fulfillment, might not resonate with someone else at all. After living through the many chapters of life, we come to realize that comparing ourselves to others is not only unproductive, it's unfair to our uniqueness. Every person's life is filled with hidden battles, unseen challenges, and deeply personal triumphs. And by the time we reach this stage, we've lived long enough to know that there is no one right way to live. When we fall into the trap of comparing ourselves to others, We distance ourselves from the value of our own experiences and our achievements. We forget the mountains we've climbed, the obstacles we've overcome, and the victories we've won along the way. Constant comparison blinds us to the richness of our own lives. It causes us to overlook the unique and special moments that are ours alone, the small, meaningful accomplishments, the relationships we've nurtured, the love we've given and received, the quiet moments of contentment that no one else could understand or appreciate. The truth is that success and happiness don't come with a one-size-fits-all formula. What brings joy and fulfillment to one person might not even matter to another. Our desires, needs, and aspirations are deeply personal and vary greatly from one individual to the next. And that's precisely what makes life so beautiful. Its variety, its unpredictability, its infinite ways of unfolding. We are all unique, and it is this uniqueness that we should celebrate, rather than trying to mold ourselves into someone else's version of happiness. Comparing our lives to others is forgetting the value of our own choices. It's easy to look at someone else's life from the outside and feel inadequate, but we often forget that every decision we've made has brought us to where we are today. Each choice, even the ones that led to difficult or painful moments, has its value, its lesson, its beauty. The paths we've walked, the decisions we've made, and the experiences we've had all weave together to form the rich tapestry of our lives. To compare our journey to someone else's is to ignore the beauty of our own story. Now, more than ever is a time to let go of the habit of measuring ourselves against others. It's time to stop looking outward with envy or self-doubt and start looking inward with affection and respect for everything we have already lived, built, and become. We must honor the choices we've made, the hardships we've survived, and the joys we've experienced, because each of these moments has shaped us into the person we are today. Each of us has a story that is equally valid, equally meaningful, and equally deserving of celebration. There is no need to compare anymore. The only thing we need is to recognize and value our journey, our way of living, complete with all its imperfections, challenges, and triumphs. When we stop comparing, we begin to see the true richness of our lives. We stop chasing after someone else's dream and start appreciating the beauty and uniqueness of our existence. We begin to realize that every wrinkle, every scar, every joy, and every sorrow is part of the mosaic that makes us who we are. And that mosaic is just as beautiful and worthy as anyone else's. The act of comparison steals our joy. It pulls us away from the present moment and places us in a state of dissatisfaction, always searching for what we think we lack. But when we choose to stop comparing, we free ourselves from the endless cycle of wanting and begin to embrace the abundance that already exists in our lives. We see that what we have built, no matter how different it may look from someone else's life, is valuable and meaningful in its own right. Life is not about keeping up with others. It's about finding peace and fulfillment in our own story. It's about living authentically, embracing who we are, and recognizing that our worth is not defined by how we measure up to someone else. It's about understanding that each of us has a unique purpose, a unique path, and that the richness of life comes from walking that path with confidence and gratitude. So let us leave behind the weight of comparison, and instead, focus on the beauty of our own lives. Let us celebrate the milestones we've reached, the lessons we've learned, and the moments that have brought us joy. Let us appreciate the relationships we've built, the love we've shared, and the quiet contentment that comes from living a life that is true to who we are. Because, in the end, what truly matters is not how our lives compare to others, but how deeply we have lived, how fully we have loved, and how true we have been to ourselves. That is where real fulfillment lies. Not in the external measures of success or the lives of others, but in the quiet satisfaction of knowing that we have walked our path with grace, courage, and authenticity. And that is a life worth celebrating. 8. Unattainable or irrelevant goals. Throughout our lives, we've been taught to set goals, chase dreams, and achieve milestones, many of which were not truly our own. Perhaps they were shaped by the expectations of society, family, or even by our younger selves who were still figuring out what we wanted out of life. We spent years striving, sometimes reaching those goals, and other times falling short, but always pushing forward because that's what we believed was necessary. But as time passes, especially after the age of 61, we come to a vital realization. Not every goal we once pursued is essential. Some of them were never truly ours to begin with. What may have once seemed important can become irrelevant, and what once felt like a worthwhile pursuit can start to feel like a burden that no longer serves us. We've lived long enough to understand that clinging to unattainable or outdated goals does more harm than good. Sometimes, we continue to chase them out of sheer stubbornness or habit, even though they no longer hold any meaning. We convince ourselves that letting go is akin to failure, but in reality, it is an act of wisdom. Now is the time to step back and take a fresh look at the goals we've been holding on to for so long. Do they still resonate with who we are today? Do they ignite a passion within us? Or have they become a weight we carry simply because we've been carrying it for so long? After 61 years of life, we've earned the right to decide what is truly worthwhile. There is no longer any reason to pursue something that doesn't bring us fulfillment or joy. If a goal seems unattainable or has lost its significance, it's not a defeat to let it go. On the contrary, it's a conscious and powerful choice. We're not giving up. We're choosing wisely where to direct our energy, our time, and our hearts. There is immense freedom in recognizing that not every goal needs to be achieved, and not every pursuit is meant to last forever. Often, we cling to old goals out of fear of failure. But the real failure lies in continuing to chase something that no longer brings us happiness or serves our current needs. Continuing to strive for goals that have lost their meaning leads only to frustration, disappointment, and a sense of inadequacy. It makes us feel like we've fallen short, when in fact, the only thing we've done is evolve. Wisdom, at this stage of life, is knowing when to adapt to our expectations, when to pivot, and when to accept that it's okay to let go. Letting go of unattainable or irrelevant goals doesn't mean we're giving up on ambition or purpose. It means we're making space for new goals, ones that truly align with who we are now and that bring joy and satisfaction to our lives. It means embracing the fact that we've changed, and what mattered to us 10, 20, or 30 years ago might not matter now. And that's okay. What matters now is setting goals that feel meaningful, that stir something inside of us, that bring us closer to the life we truly want to live. This shift can be profoundly liberating. Instead of feeling weighed down by the pressure of unachieved goals, we can set new ones that bring real happiness. These new goals don't have to be grand or impressive by anyone else's standards. They only need to resonate with us. It might be something as simple as spending more quality time with family, exploring new hobbies, learning a new skill, or just focusing on our health and well-being. The scale of the goal doesn't matter. What matters is that it makes us feel alive, fulfilled, and content with the life we are living. The most important thing is that our goals reflect our current values and desires. After all, life is not about ticking off a list of achievements for the sake of impressing others or proving something to ourselves. It's about living in a way that brings us peace and satisfaction. The greatest goal we can set for ourselves now is to live authentically, in harmony with our choices, and to savor each moment as it comes. There is so much joy in living with intention rather than obligation. Instead of focusing on what we haven't achieved, we can take pride in what we have accomplished, in the experiences we've had, and in the person we've become. We've reached a stage where we understand that the real measure of a fulfilling life is not found in material accomplishments or external accolades, but in the quality of our everyday experiences. It's about how we live, how we love, and how we care for ourselves and others. At this point, we no longer need to prove anything to anyone, not even to ourselves. We can release the pressure to meet goals that no longer serve us and instead focus on the present. We can set goals that are realistic, fulfilling, and align with our current stage in life. And by doing so, we allow ourselves a space to grow, to enjoy, and to live fully. This doesn't mean we stop dreaming or striving for more. It means we start dreaming in a way that truly aligns with who we are today. We start setting goals that nourish our souls, not just our egos. We choose to invest our time and energy in what truly matters to us, and we let go of the rest. And in this letting go, we find a profound sense of peace and contentment. Life is not measured by how many goals we achieve, but by how deeply we live each moment. So let's choose goals that fill our hearts with joy, make us excited to get out of bed in the morning, and remind us of the beauty of life itself. After all, the greatest goal of all is to live in peace, in harmony with ourselves and the world around us. And that is a goal worth pursuing every single day. 9. Prioritizing your happiness. How many times throughout our lives have we placed the needs, desires, and happiness of others ahead of our own? From a young age, we learn to take care of those we love, to offer support, and to be there for others when they need us, and there is a beautiful nobility in that. Acts of love, compassion, and generosity often define the way we live our lives, giving selflessly to those around us. But in doing so, how often have we forgotten ourselves in the process? How many dreams have we put on hold? How many desires have we pushed aside, thinking we were doing the right thing by meeting the expectations of others? Over time, this sacrifice becomes a habit, and we begin to accumulate guilt at the mere thought of doing something purely for ourselves, as if we somehow don't have the right to our happiness. But after the age of 61, we begin to see life differently. This is the time to leave that guilt behind. It is time to permit ourselves to prioritize our happiness, because if not now, then when? Prioritizing your happiness is not selfish. It is an essential act of self-care. It is a way of respecting yourself, of honoring everything you have done and everything you are. For years, we have poured so much of our energy into others, being so many things to so many people. But now, it's time to turn that energy inward and ask yourself a crucial question. What makes me happy? What do I truly want for myself? Without fear of seeming selfish or disappointing those around me. There is no longer any need to carry the weight of guilt when it comes to pursuing your happiness. You have earned the right to put yourself first and to prioritize what brings you joy and fulfillment. We often think that by putting others first, we are doing what's best for them. But the truth is, those we love need us to be well, to be happy, and to feel fulfilled. We can only give from a place of abundance, and that abundance comes from nurturing our happiness. When we take care of ourselves, we have so much more to offer to others, more love, more patience, more joy. Letting go of guilt is freeing. It allows us to live more lightly and to embrace the joy of doing what's right for ourselves. There is nothing wrong with wanting to be happy. There is nothing wrong with wanting to pursue the things that make our hearts sing, because in the end, life is ours. No one else can live it for us. No one else can feel our emotions, and no one else can make us happy. That responsibility rests with us alone. So if we don't take care of our happiness, who will? Now is the time to think about ourselves, to choose joy without fear, without guilt. It doesn't mean we stop caring for others. It simply means we find a healthy balance between taking care of those we love and taking care of ourselves. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment below to let me know that you are still here with me. This act of prioritizing our happiness is an act of self-love. It's about honoring our own story, our dreams, and the life we built. It's about showing respect for ourselves in the same way we have shown respect for others. If there's something you've always wanted to do but never had the time or courage, now is the perfect time to embrace it. If there's a long-buried desire, a plan, or a passion that has been pushed aside for the sake of others, bring it back to the surface. Let go of the fear and guilt that may have held you back, because pursuing your happiness is one of the most powerful gifts you can give yourself. And here's the beautiful part. When we feel good, when we are truly happy, it reflects in everything around us. Our relationships improve, our energy lifts, and the world around us feels lighter. We show up more fully for the people we care about, and the love and care we give to ourselves radiate outward, positively affecting everyone we touch. Prioritizing your happiness isn't about abandoning others. It's about enhancing every aspect of your life, including your connections with the people you love. So, let's make a promise to ourselves to leave guilt behind. Let's stop feeling as though we need to justify our happiness to anyone. We deserve to live with more joy, with more freedom, and with more truth. This is our time to enjoy life in its fullness, to follow the desires of our hearts without fear of judgment. At this stage of life, we have earned the right to prioritize our own needs. We have given so much to others over the years. Now it's time to give to ourselves. This shift in perspective is not just about making time for yourself. It's about living with intention, about choosing to live in a way that brings you happiness and fulfillment. It's about recognizing that your well-being is just as important as anyone else's. By making your happiness a priority, you are not only nurturing your soul, but also setting a powerful example for those around you. You are showing that it's okay to put yourself first, to pursue your passions, and to live with joy. In the end, what matters most is not how much we've sacrificed for others, but how deeply we've loved ourselves along the way. When we prioritize our happiness, we are better equipped to love, support, and care for those around us. We create a ripple effect of positivity that extends far beyond ourselves. So, let's embrace this time, this moment in life, to live more fully, more joyfully, and more authentically. This is the life we deserve, now more than ever. Let's let go of guilt, embrace our happiness, and live with the kind of joy and fulfillment that makes every moment count. This is our time, and we owe it to ourselves to make the most of it. As we come to the end of this reflection, I hope you found inspiration and insight into how to embrace life more fully. Prioritize your happiness and let go of the things that no longer serve you. Now, I'd love to hear from you. What have you learned so far? What's one thing from today's discussion that resonated with you? Something you'll bring into practice in your own life? Share your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to read them. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a comment and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more inspiring content. Your support means the world to us.